Okay, Seema, it looks like we have a nice group in the session already. Should we go ahead and start?
Yeah, I think we should because it's already noon here, and let's
Right.
get started. Okay.
Okay.
So, hello, everybody, and uh, welcome to this session titled Needs Assessment. I am Simantini Karve, Seema, and with me I have my colleague, Andrea. Andrea, will you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. We're both from Skyline College in the San Francisco Bay Area where we've actually got bright sunshine today, not our usual July fog. So we're really happy. Don't ask us about the 4th of July fireworks because they were not visible because of the normal fog. It's great to be here. I'm a instructional designer, faculty member, and Seema is a biology professor.
Thank you, Andrea. And before we go further into this session, we would like to request you about does your department or does your college at present do needs assessment already? Needs assessment at some places it is also called as gap analysis. So does your institute do that already? And do you have librarians to support CTC resources, or is it just OER, open educational resources? So you can type in chat.
We would do a thumbs up, but I'm not sure how it works on this platform. So we're
Yeah.
going to drop a quick note in the chat,
Oh
which
yeah,
should be the
somebody gave
little,
thumbs up.
oh, okay. Somebody, yay. We're learning. We're learning. We like it, but we're learning.
So I think it's reasonable to assume that at few places it is already happening, but for most places, okay, I do see Abby mentioning yes to
Oh,
both, whereas other institute Chris
Chris is saying
mentions
no
no.
support officially. Okay.
Yeah. So I think with uh, knowing that or keeping that in mind, uh,
Nice,
Alan
Ellen.
mentions, yeah, let's take a look at a little bit of theoretical framework or theoretical background for needs assessment. Oh, I do see a lot of folks responding in chat now. Yes
Okay.
to
Somewhat
both.
limited. Some do,
Yeah,
some don't, basically.
yeah,
Okay.
okay, yeah.
Oh, we got a new OER ZTC librarian. Yay. Okay.
No. So, taking a quick look at a little bit of theoretical background regarding why we need to do this needs assessment or gap analysis. So, Landa 2023, when they conducted their research, what they found was factors influencing OER use are few factors that influence are perceived ease of use, perceived usefulness, self efficacy, peer influence, and for the various facilitating conditions. Now, out of all these five factors, the last three factors, self efficacy, peer influence, and facilitating conditions, are somewhat directly related to this particular stage or this particular step of needs assessment. And from here, we are going to talk about some practical steps that we took at our institute that facilitated needs assessment process. So if we can go to the next slide. So in this slide, we first define what do we mean by needs assessment. So needs assessment is basically taking some time and having sort of a dedicated space for faculty members to reflect upon various factors like self-efficacy. Can we really do this? To reflect upon those factors and also talk about funding needs. So this needs assessment is kind of uh, divided or categorized into three phases: stakeholder discussion, evaluation of content, and estimating needs. Now, these phases are not really clear cut, as in one ends and then other begins. Sometimes they are a little bit iterative, means we go back and forth. But broadly speaking, these are the three stages that we had at our institute. Andrea, would you like to add anything to this?
Yeah, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into each of these, and we're going to share some resources with you, like a format that we used in case it's helpful if you're just starting on this journey. And we'll share a copy of the slide deck that'll have all the links and so forth in it. I did want to sort of shout out, we'll come back to it, but the funding needs being really critical.
Yeah. So
Okay. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
in this next slide, we talk a little bit about phase one, which is stakeholder discussions. And here, who are really stakeholders in this particular endeavor? Faculty members and librarians, and also instruction designers. Andrea has helped me with textbooks so many times. Involving Andrea was one of the greatest gifts that probably institution has given us. Then accessibility specialists and also students were some of the identified key holders.
And I wanted
What
to
cha-
just mention that about the students, um, just to mention that getting the students' feedback on the materials you're currently using, and even having students help develop materials is something that we've done a little bit at Skyline, like involving them and helping put things together. The math department did that as kind of an assignment, so it might be something to consider. Go ahead, Seema.
Yeah, and in while discussing engagement channels, we want to keep in mind that usually we have found that one-on-one meetings was easiest, quickest, swiftest, but other institutes have also done things like focus groups, or while seeking feedback from students, they have conducted surveys. So feasibility of these engagement channels can vary from institute to institute. One-on-one meetings is usually the most common one that happens. Yeah.
Okay. So continuing our actions that we might take from stakeholder discussions, kind of common sense, state the obvious. We want to set project goals. It could be a bite-sized goal, like we want to update our course materials for this particular course, or it could be a very ambitious goal, like we're currently building out degree pathways for the entire degree can be earned with CTC and OER. So we want to have some measurable criteria and some time frames, and hopefully realistic time frames is what we found out, that we were a little maybe too ambitious with some of our time frames. Identifying the pain points is really helpful if we're looking at weaknesses in our institution or in the pedagogy. What are students struggling with? What are some of the barriers for the students? And again, getting feedback from the students is really helpful. And if you're lucky enough, I know not everybody is, to have a coordinator or a librarian that helps with this, or instructional designers, definitely consulting with them. Our ZTC librarian is not able to be with us today, but she has been just invaluable in finding things that the faculty might not even have known existed. Like, you might be familiar with LibreText, you might be familiar with OpenStax, but there might be a plethora of possibilities that they can get access to, or can help guide you with it. So that's pretty key.
Awesome. So, as you can see, we have sort of a team approach or collaborative approach at Skyline. And then now comes sort of the meat part of the process, needs assessment process, and that is evaluation of course content. And there are multiple ways in which we can evaluate course content. Couple criteria that come to mind is the first one being SLO, student learning outcome alignment. Sometimes when faculty members have taught the course for several years, um, it goes out of whack in terms of SLO alignment. And it may be a good idea to take a look at SLO alignment at this point. Sometimes what happens is outdated materials exist in the textbook. Sometimes folks tell me in anatomy and physiology, human body has not changed for several years. So what is outdated material for human anatomy and physiology? Well, although human body has not changed, our understanding of it has changed, means how cells operate or how various body systems operate has changed. So outdated material, we need to take it out and replenish it with current materials. So that's something we take a look at. We don't actually do those tasks, but we take a look at, determine what needs to be taken out.
And I just want to kind of move back to SLOs, which a lot of our faculty maybe rightfully like hate doing SLO assessment and all the sort of box checking that goes with that. But if SLOs are thoughtful student learning outcomes, sometimes you'll find like a mismatch. Like here's this key SLO, and we only spend half of a chapter or 1 week on that topic. So kind of looking at also what's most important, because you can't. There's a lot to cover in the human body, right? So figuring out, making it match the emphasis of what's most important. It's almost harder to take things away than it is to keep adding things, and then you wind up with a super bloated course. We've all been there, I think. Or like history, where you never get past World War II kind of thing. We also have other criteria that we want to look at, and some of this is sort of common sense. I mean, AI obviously has upended everything. So maybe we're integrating AI literacy, maybe we're using it to build some materials, or maybe we're doing a tutor that we want to work with the students on, as well as technical updates in the field or in the software or in everything. So that's just kind of a constant need for updates. Um, the other two we're going to dive into a little more when we get to resources, which is Universal Design for Learning, UDL. This is a great time to look at matching your content and also looking at accessibility while you're doing this, making sure that the materials are accessible. I don't know if people know that there was the new standards that came out. They've been pushed back a year before we have to comply with it. But if anybody's been dealing with that at your institution, it can be a lot. So it's a good time. Hey, you're working on the content anyway. Let's check accessibility and the multiple means of expression and making sure it's diverse and all those things, which rolls into the idea framework. And we're going to share a framework that California developed for looking at curriculum content. We're just going to share the resource, not dive deeply into it, about inclusion, diversity, equity, and anti-racism. Okay, let's get into. Okay,
Awesome.
this is maybe a little bit hard to read, but we're actually going to open it and walk through it.
Yeah.
This
So
is a.
this is
Go ahead, Seema. Sorry.
Yeah, this is the actual template that we use, planning template. And here you can see, or maybe not, I'll just read it out. In the first column, what we had was chapter numbers. And then in second column, what learning objectives did that chapter cover? And then third column was what edits did we propose to that particular chapter? And if we can now go to Andrea, the next actual, yeah,
Oh,
sample. Yeah, this
yeah,
is
here we go.
perfect. So, just to give you all a little bit of background, when we started this process of needs assessment for anatomy and physiology at Skyline College, the course that we offered was human anatomy and human physiology, two separate courses. But the textbook that we had was human anatomy and physiology OpenStax textbook. So for students, it was quite confusing which chapters go where, what content goes where, and hence, what we had to do is develop a human anatomy textbook and then human physiology textbook. So, first step that we did was we did a review of the OpenStax textbook itself, and we mapped out like what chapters go where. So that was sort of the first step. And if we scroll down, what you will also see is how we divided or categorized content into two separate textbooks. If we could go further
Oh, I'm
lower.
sorry. I'm trying to paste the link in the chat at the same time.
Oh,
Okay, here we go.
okay. So here what you can see now is chapter numbers, then we had learning objectives, and then we proposed edits. Now, these edits were sometimes like, okay, we need to develop content on our own, like we need to write something up, or sometimes it was just updating glossary or deleting some of the outdated text or text that we didn't include in the course material, didn't want to include in the course material, and sort of tailor the content of the textbook to the course that we were teaching. Yeah, Andrea, would you like to add anything or
Um,
kind of?
Not really. It is a lot. I know it's a lot of text on the page, but I think it gives you the idea of what you would do with your different, again, this was kind of two courses in one with the learning objectives and the proposed edits. And you can also take this a step further and figure out where would you develop multimedia content or videos or interactives, depending on the resources you have available to do that. Okay. Anything else, Seema, on this before I go back to
No,
our
I think
slide?
we covered pretty much all. And in chat, I do see
Awesome.
folks wanting more information about this. Tara mentioning that, and Andrea has put in my email. Please feel free to shoot an email to me, or the textbook is also available online freely.
And we'll share the whole slide deck with you, but there are a couple of links here. I'm just going to quickly show you the UDL website, which you could find this on your own Googling, but again, it's in here. Um, don't know if y'all are already familiar with CAST. They recently updated this Universal Design for Learning guidelines, and you've got a lot of information here on engagement, representation, action and expression. And one of the principles is presenting the material in different ways, such as multimedia, text, everything. I know we're sort of focused right now on the textbook, but I think that multimedia component, be it podcast, videos, interactives, is something that you might want to take a look at. So I just wanted to point that out for you. And the other one, and that QR code actually takes you to the same link I put in the chat. I'm sorry, I had to switch away from the QR code for a moment for the actual template for the needs assessment. Where I don't want to run out of time. I want to leave time for questions. So I'll just mention the California Academic Senate, the IDEA framework that deals with diversity and inclusion, that sort of thing. So that might be something for you to take a look at.
Okay,
Um, mhm.
now, this brings us to our third phase, which is evaluation, which is deciding what kind of funding do we need. So it could be external funding or internal funding. Internal funding could include summer stipends when professors can actually go and tweak their textbooks, or sometimes it needs to be course release time during the semester. And Andrea, would you like to talk about external funding? Because I believe you have web page
Sure.
related to it.
Sure. We've applied for grants. I know people are in different states and so forth, but we were able to get a pretty good grant from the state of California. And part of the stipulation was we shared it widely, like we developed it for our college, but then we shared it to make it be adoptable through Canvas Commons to other folks, to anybody really. Um, I want to show you though how we did sort of the nuts and bolts of the payment. One principle we've tried to follow at Skyline, in an ideal world, I don't make all the decisions, but is to involve the adjunct faculty because they teach a lot of the courses and they don't necessarily get paid to build courses. So coming up with funding where they can be either a part of a team or get paid for their time um, and knowledge, right? And their expertise. So I was just going to show you, this is going to be maybe exciting, but it's actually actually might be helpful. Is so we had these different project scopes. So we paid them based on their, I don't know how different colleges work, but there's like a rate, an hourly rate. So a minimal project might be, oh, you're kind of adapting some content to update your course, or you want to do some accessibility remediation. So that might be, 5 to 15 hours. So we agree with it ahead of time, and then they get basically time sheeted for what they want versus something that might be 61 to 100 hours, which might include authoring some content like we talked about, developing content, including, activities and assessments, and, some pretty maybe heavier duty remediation for accessibility, and even release time, like a point 2, to actually, if there's no OER content, and that is true for some disciplines, to actually author it. So that's just the approach that Skyline took, but it might be something to think about at your own institutions.
And this hour-based division really helps faculty members too, because some semesters we are carrying an overload, means we are teaching that extra class and we have no time for this kind of ZTC related activities. But some summers we are not teaching, and then we can dedicate some of the hours to ZTC because we know the hour estimate ahead of time. So this project, determining project scope, assessing gaps, and determining time, it's kind of very critical step before we go into actual edits of the textbook itself.
Correct. Correct. Well, I think we are just about at the time for questions and answers. So would love to hear any questions that you have, and we'll try to answer them. And I don't know if I don't know, can people unmute themselves, or they just have to put it in the chat? I'm not sure. And I'm putting a link in the chat right now to the slide deck because it has all the resources linked in there. So if you want to bookmark that and grab that, feel free. You can either put question in the chat, or you can put it in the Q&A if you see that on the menu bar.
Yeah, I
Hello.
see.
Hey, Justin.
How are you guys? Doing great job. Nice to see you in person. And actually, I'm not the host, but I can tell the host people what to do. That there is a question in the Q&A. Does that slide deck that have hours breakdown that you just showed?
It does. It has a link to it, but let me also just put the link in the chat for you. Sorry, I'm gonna put it. Okay, let me escape. Sorry, excuse my running around here. It's actually on our college website, but I'll go ahead and put it in the I guess I put it here. Sorry, I'll put it in both places, but it is in the slide deck, but just to make it easier for you to find.
Awesome.
Okay, and I see another question. How did we come up with the hours for the project scope?
Yeah, so I can respond to that. Was it based on an existing framework? So for each of the textbook or each of the discipline, these hours may vary depending on where they are in their OER journey. Means we had already started with OpenStack's textbook, and then we use LibreText to divide it up into anatomy and physiology. Some professors, they may be starting with a physiology textbook itself, and then their hours may differ. And that's why we do this needs assessment. Means when we do the proposed edit column, now we know how much do we need to actually write, how much do we need to just remix or take from other sources. Depending on that, we come up with an estimation of hours. So I hope that clarified further. Okay. And then, was it based on an existing framework? So the framework, basically the first slide that we showed was related to self-efficacy and peer influence. So it kind of falls under that umbrella if you want to get theoretical about existing framework.
Okay. Any other questions, thoughts? I'm just making sure we're not leaving somebody out.
Yeah, I know.
Let's see.
No, I think we covered everything.
Good. Okay, we stayed on time. with
Thank
5
you guys
minutes
so
to
much.
spare. Thank you for having us, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us.